Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you Game 3 in a series between Mouse Sports' Thorzain versus TSL's Polt here on Tal'Darim Altar. We'll see what's going to go down in this matchup. Polt spawning as the blue Terran player here on the top left-hand side of the map. Meanwhile, Thorzain spawning as the red Terran player here on the bottom left-hand side of the map. This is going to be Tal'Darim Altar, and we'll see what will go down in this matchup. So far, Thorzain is behind 2-0 in this series, and we'll see if he'll be able to even get a win off of Polt. Now, in this Terran versus Terran matchup here on Tal'Darim Altar, I haven't really cast that many Terran versus Terran, so I'm not exactly sure what these players will try to go for. Early Banshees with Cloak is always a possibility. We saw Thorzain open up with an interesting 1-1-1 build with Hellions and Marines to try to fight back, and Thorzain was unable to really deal enough damage as Polt did have a second orbital command, double training up more SCVs and getting back into the game. In Game 2, Polt executed a Cloak Banshee play very effectively, and Thorzain, who I thought needed to get that Raven out much earlier, didn't go for a Raven, went for an uncloaked Banshee, and simply allowed Polt to get in way too many kills on that mineral line and taking down some critical Marines, allowing Polt to now take a very early 2-0 lead in this series. Polt opting to build a barracks on the front door. His add-on, a tech lab here, would be able to wall off completely, as Polt is going in for an early refinery. Meanwhile, it looks as Thorzain is going to be going for a faster expansion, and as long as Thorzain is able to execute this well and also shore up his defenses, as he will have a little bit less of an army, he should be fine. Tal'Darim Altar is a rather large map, and even though there are 4 spawning locations, you really have perhaps no idea where your opponent has spawned yet, but it looks like Polt will be scouting in the correct direction, a little bit lucky, but it will be challenged by a Marine very quickly. A Reaper now being added by Polt, so perhaps we are going to go into a Reaper expansion, as we are also establishing a supply depot here. SCV going to get caught. Polt, where is it going to go? Polt able to escape with that SCV down to 15 hit points, and now backing off once more. Command center is being built. That Reaper is almost ready, and this is going to be a very dangerous situation for Thorzain. Thorzain needs to keep track of those Reapers, and he needs to have a group of Marines nearby in order to challenge them. If the Marines come into the Reapers one at a time, the Reaper will win that fight, as the Reaper has, I believe, a little bit more hit points, but it also does significantly more damage. In comes the Reaper. Now the Marine has to be very careful. The Marine is not keeping track. Now going up against the Reaper gets the easy kill there, as now one Marine needs to perhaps sit off over here. Is it going to be able to get there in time? Yes, it is going to get there, and that Reaper is going to take some early damage. The Reaper down to 14 hit points, and oh, nice play there as Thorzain able to get a second Marine back over, but it is now 2 Marines against 1 Reaper. The Reaper is not regenerating hit points, and Polt perhaps going to move in with more Reapers, as his Reaper expansion looking pretty strong right now. Early harassment, if you take a look at the total losses, it is 100 versus 0, but a low hit point Reaper, essentially not altogether that useful, as the Reapers are now going to make their way up and go after the Marine. 1 Marine down. SCV now going to get taken down. Going after, Thorzain focusing down the lower hit point Marine, and now this Reaper needs to run away. It looks like it will be able to do exactly that, and now Polt, 250 kills versus 100. And I believe, nope, the mule was not destroyed, so Thorzain is still going to benefit a little bit there. More Reapers still being added. I believe that will be it for the early Reaper play. The Marines are just going to simply sit on the ledge here, get in some shots, take down 1 Reaper very easily, and now it is going to be this low hit point Reaper down to 2 hit points. Is it going to be able to finish off, get some damage? Now, where is it going to go? Where is this Reaper going? The Reaper is trying to stay alive, and it looks like it will be able to do exactly that, as it navigates around and now able to escape. There is no way to connect in these 2 bases here. That Reaper gonna walk straight into a Marine and get taken out. Polt does have his orbital command up and running. Harvester count 29 versus 26. Things are fairly even so far, as the supply depot is being built along the backside here, perhaps to try to minimize any Reapers or any Hellion drops along this backside. Currently, we are running on 3 barracks, adding on a factory for Thorzain, as both of these players are transitioning. Polt going very heavy into Marines. You can see Stim now being researched, Combat Shield already completed. The Marines are now backing off, as Thorzain, with 4 Marines, able to hold that Xel'Naga tower there. Polt is a little bit delayed in terms of getting up his factory since he did go for Reapers. We'll see whether or not that's going to affect his medevac count and affect the mid-game later on, as more Marines just rushing towards the center, able to hold one Xel'Naga tower as more Marines are backing off again. So it is Marine Wars here on Tal'Darim Altar. Taking a look, both players with very similar buildings, 3 barracks, 2 with reactors, 1 with a tech lab. And now we are getting into Stim for Thorzain. Polt is slightly ahead here, but the factory is a little bit more delayed. We should be adding on a starport, adding on a reactor. There we go. And right as this starport is done, we should have that swap and then double training of those medevacs, as both players transition into the mid-game, looking to deal a lot of damage to each other. Polt, Engineering Bay now being added. Meanwhile, Thorzain already halfway done with level 1 weapons upgrade. So I would give a slight advantage to Thorzain right now. He has higher tech, higher upgrades, but he is a little bit more delayed on his stim. The key question is whether or not Polt is going to find an opportunity to attack while his stim is completed, while Thorzain's is still being upgraded and researched. Marines now being added here. We can see double training of medevacs for Thorzain and double training of medevacs for Polt. Polt is a little bit behind in terms of the medevac count, as he is a little bit delayed, as we now see Polt going into a factory and looking to establish perhaps some siege tank numbers. Marines now looking to move out, and the Marines are now making their way forward. One Marine off over here will take a bit of damage, but that Marine will easily be destroyed. Thorzain now needs to figure out where he wants to move with these Marines. Meanwhile, Polt has Stim, but does not have level 1 weapons upgrade. Meanwhile, Thorzain does not have Stim, but has level 1 weapon upgrades. Who's going to win out here? This is going to be a very, very critical test, as Polt perhaps waiting. No, Thorzain's going to wait for Stim, and 1-0 Marines with Stim should beat this, but there is that high ground advantage. And taking a look at the overall count, it is 44 Marines versus 42, and it's really going to come down to these medevac numbers. More Marines being added, a siege tank being added, siege tech about 40 seconds away from being completed, and this is going to be very, very close. Polt about 20 seconds away from being completed. Marines need a stim, and here we go. Both sides battling out, siege tanks engaging, and a line of Marines, both sides fighting Thorzain. Not quite sure who has the advantage. Level 1 weapons upgrade, but Polt perhaps with a better positioning. Siege tank now going to get destroyed, and somehow Polt comes out ahead, and I really think Thorzain was just asleep at the wheel, not paying attention. He had stim, he had weapons upgrades, but he lost that battle. There was a 20-second gap there. Thorzain, if he had just moved out with more of his Marines, he would have been in a much, much better situation and would have been able to handle that encroaching army. Perhaps if he saw the mini-map stimmed earlier, allowed those medevacs to start healing, and then all of them were able to start attacking, that would have been a great position for Thorzain, as he had the high ground, and then his siege tank would have been able to deal a little bit more damage as well, since it had a range of 7 to be outside of the range of the rest of those Marines. Currently, Thorzain about to finish his armor upgrade, so once again, Thorzain does have a slight upgrade advantage, 1-1 Marines against 1-0, but now Polt getting his second engineering bay up and will be able to go into 2-2 upgrades rather quickly, but Thorzain already starting his 2-2 upgrades. Harvester count 64 versus 58. Things are pretty even right now. Thorzain should be looking to perhaps siege some of those siege tanks. SCV now attempting to run away. The Marine is going to gain sight on that SCV as it runs. So Polt knows that Thorzain knows where his opponent is. Marines now making their way forward, and oh, one Marine simply running past and not deciding to engage. This Marine could have just perhaps pushed back over here. Not quite sure. That was a little bit of a misstep, as we now have a large group of Marines and 3 siege tanks ready to push here. Siege tanks are on the low ground. We'll see where this is going to go. The siege tanks are now looking to push their way forward. The siege tanks, both sides battling out, but Thorzain may end up losing this one siege tank. Has to be very, very careful. Medevacs, Vikings, both sides going at it. The Marines trying to clear off the Vikings, but the siege tanks are within sight range. It looks as though Thorzain just outside of combat range on this siege tank and unable to engage, as this one supply depot will get taken out. Meanwhile, a drop trying to come in. Marines able to push their way over. The Marines don't even have a medevac, but the sheer numbers of Polt will be able to punish here, as now, very importantly, Polt able to deny one of the Vespene geysers of Thorzain. The siege tanks now looking to push forward. Oh, Polt may end up losing this one siege tank here. The Marines were pushed forward, perhaps trying to gain a little bit more hit points, but no, the siege tank up on the high ground has been quickly destroyed, and Polt now taking a 20 food advantage, really punishing his opponent. The siege tanks are low on hit points, or some of them are, but Polt doing a great job, and he should be able to just continue to inch forward with these units. No, Vikings now finally making their way over, and now able to gain very important air control and site control here. Now, waiting for this scanner sweep to end. The siege tank should be pushing forward. A second scanner sweep could be coming in. It looks like it is going to be coming in exactly now. Siege tanks are pushing forward here, but Polt is not going to be able to damage this siege tank. A little bit of a misstep there, as these 2 siege tanks unable to attack this siege tank here. More Marines, fresh reinforcements, and coming back over. 76 Harvesters versus 63. This tank Marine medevac Viking war looking very, very strong for Polt, as Polt does have superior numbers, and one siege tank does go down, and this siege tank unable to blast back here. Polt with just constant superior numbers, able to deal a lot more damage. Thorzain now needs to run away with the siege tank, able to do exactly that. The Marines are now trying to push their way forward. Polt in a little bit of a clump over here. Who's going to come out on top? Siege tanks need to destroy all of these Marines. Both sides still engaging. Polt losing a lot more units than he would like. Medevac going to get destroyed there, as the Marines now sticking very, very close by and able to start encroaching on some of these SCVs. Thorzain has evened up the food count just a bit. His army is slightly larger, but how long will it last is the key question. Vikings now going after some of those medevacs there, and siege tanks may try to drop straight up on top of these. No, it doesn't look like that will be the case. SCVs, siege tanks, both sides still battling out. One siege tank does go down. Medevac now trying to heal up more SCVs. Does Thorzain know that there are currently 2 siege tanks? Yes, he does see exactly that, and dropping them down, almost taking down that one siege tank there. Vikings now battling it out once more, and this Viking gonna get destroyed very, very easily. Marines now trying to make their way over, trying to push back that Viking, and all of this engagement here just because Polt spawned in a little bit of a better position. Siege tanks now encroaching on the front door itself. And does Thorzain have enough tanks sieged is the key question. Thorzain off over here. There is an orbital command, no planetary fortress. All of these Marines could easily just jump inside the medevac. Marines now trying to push their way forward, but the siege tanks are a bit too far away. Thorzain redrawing the line in the sand, and these siege tanks may be able to push forward again, and that is exactly what Polt is going to do. Push forward and now use scanner sweeps up onto the high ground to perhaps get some damage there. Thorzain needs to pull back. The orbital command is getting shelled. With 3 orbital commands, that is plenty of scanner sweeps to deal a lot of damage. The Marines now trying to push their way forward. Again, the Marines are now getting into position, and here you go. Siege tanks, both sides sieging up, but Polt with superior positioning once more, as Thorzain doesn't have the numbers to hold off this line. Both sides now getting 3-3 upgrades. 13 Marines being trained up by Polt, 11 by Thorzain. But it just feels like Polt's army is in constant better position, able to exchange better, even though both sides are about to finish 3-3 upgrades. And now in come these Marines coming in around the far side. And with Thorzain losing this base, this is going to be very, very bad news. Marines engaging Marines with medevacs. Meanwhile, Thorzain doesn't have the medevacs. What is happening over here? I believe the numbers were actually in favor. Not quite sure why he decided to retreat. Perhaps he wants to push forth somewhere else. That doesn't seem to be the case. More Marines accidentally walking straight into a siege tank line. Not a very good engagement at all, as we now see siege tanks once again pushing forward. Thorzain gonna get in some easy kills there. One tank, two tanks now down, but it looks like a scanner sweep was coming in just in time. Marines of Polt walking straight in there as Thorzain gets in some nice and easy free kills. Polt now getting level 2 weapons upgrade against Thorzain's level 1 upgrades on his siege tanks. And with those tank upgrades, 60 damage per attack versus 55, that will swing things very heavily in favor of Polt. Polt already sitting at 200. Where are these Vikings going? The Vikings are now able to push back these all of those medevacs. The Marines now chasing after the Vikings. However, some Marines were lost. And now, once again, more scanner sweeps. So it is still 3 bases. The 3 bases. Vikings now looking to engage siege tanks, destroying Marines as the Marines got over eager to shoot down some Vikings. And Polt now banking 2,500 resources and now looking to expand into the 12 o'clock location. He is looking very, very strong. 1 Marine going up against 2. Not very good outcome there, as Polt may perhaps try to push down and take down this orbital command over here. So far, things are looking very, very good for Polt. Polt has superior upgrades now with 2-0. Both sides have upgraded 3-3 Marines pretty much. No, that is not the case. No, now 3-3 Marines. Siege tanks are off over here. The Marines are going to simply push in and destroy all of these siege tanks. We see an engagement off over here. Siege tanks against Marines. Both sides trying to figure out who can deal more damage first. Polt has a slight advantage here, but this expansion looks like it will fall. Siege tanks going after and taking down some of these SCVs as the SCVs are trying to rally to this location. You can see now more Marines attacking off from the north, but Thorzain losing a lot of SCVs very needlessly as they did not rally into this location since there was no orbital command here at all. 7 siege tanks versus the 5 siege tanks of Thorzain. This is not looking good for Thorzain. Another siege tank, a timely scanner sweep destroying that. And now in comes a Banshee finally. The Banshee may be able to clean up these siege tanks if it is very careful. The siege tank the siege tank, however, saved by the Marines of Polt. And Polt getting a very easy 3-0 kill over Thorzain as Polt was able to turn a small advantage into a large advantage consistently in each of these matchups. Just beautifully played by Polt. Polt didn't do any all-in scenarios at all and just played very cleanly, very well, deserving the victory in, I guess, what is now known as a best-of-5 series, taking 3 straight games off of Thorzain. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening.